Hey guys, welcome to Dakota Grappler Live, another show here Wednesday night in February, the last month of the high school wrestling season. Got a special guest beside me, Century Head Wrestling Coach Nate Humann, and of course, Bill Holton, my right-hand man on the far side. Well, we're going to talk a little bit of college wrestling tonight. We're going to talk some high school wrestling. Of course, we'll update you on anything happening COVID-wise. I'm hoping that we are on long enough that a couple of South Dakota coaches, if not one, will hop on and give us some updates down there. They have their South Dakota Coaches Association meeting tonight, so they have their own Zoom call for a while. But basically want to start out with this. Nate, how do you think your team's doing right now, or where are you heading with this last few weeks left of the season?
I'm liking where we're at. Last week we had a hard week. We had a hard week at training. We didn't have any competitions last week, and we're kind of in our peaking phase where we backed off a little bit. Want to peak for the Bismarck High duel, and you think you're going to have a regional tournament. That's not going to happen anymore. But we'll have another hard week of practice next week, and then taper one more time for the state tournament. We got some because we had a hard week of practice last week, and we've been pretty lucky with kids being healthy and all the skin issues and not being sick. We've been pretty lucky in that regard, but we're kind of getting bit by that a little bit this week. But ultimately, we're going to try to get everybody healed up and feeling better, and we'll have them in 2 weeks. That's the plan. So can't say that things are going great in that regard, but I mean, at this point, everybody's dealing with something too, and we'll just do our best and go from there. But yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. Our kids are working hard. They're not complaining, and I think we're still getting better. So that's all you can ask for as a coach.
Well, that's good, because I tell you what, that's the one thing I've worried about most is kind of the atmosphere in some coaches' rooms because of not getting enough matches. Because guess what? My week-to-week mentality when I was there is I could not wait for the weekend for those matches, and looking forward to practice was not as great. Those desires to go to practice every week was not so great. But you knew you could take that stuff you learned and use it.
I've been pretty happy. We got a lot of guys on our team that are hard workers, and I'm a big drilling guy, and I like to drill our guys, and we're just sharpening our skills, and we're trying to get better at those certain skills that I think and Coach Lamar thinks are going to be important come the end of the year. And our guys have took it in stride, and every day they add something new in with our drills, or just constantly tinkering and stuff, so
yeah,
hopefully it'll work out.
So Bill, do you have any questions for Nate right away? I got many I could get to, but I probably know some of Nate's answers.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. So, Nate, explain to me where you think we're going to be sitting. So we're going to have all class. Who's all Class A teams are going to be in the dual tournament?
No,
top four.
Qualifying is still the same. Yep, qualifying.
Okay, so just the top four, and then they'll just seed them from there. So you guys you'll be the number 2 team out of the.
Yeah, I mean tomorrow's duel against Bismarck.
You got to finish that one, but
it, and then we have 2 duels on Saturday with Wofford. We have a triangular with Wofford City and Williston.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so it'll be you and Bismarck will battle that out tomorrow.
Yep.
Good. Well, how you feel going into that match?
I'm excited. It's one of those duels where there's always a lot of energy, a lot of emotions and stuff like that going on. But I've kind of been preaching to our guys this week and last week even. There's Bismarck High and there's kind of everybody else kind of seems like in the WDA, but I feel like we're the team that's been hunted as the top of everybody else. And we've just been the hunted team all year, so we're getting everybody's best shot. And so is Bismarck High, but we'll finally have a duel where we can be the hunters and we're hunting Bismarck High. So hopefully we can go out and, wrestle hard with no pressure. We have nothing to lose tomorrow night at all. So just won't go out and win as many matches as you can. I've also talked a lot about, everybody thinks you got to do something special when you're wrestling good guys or guys that are ranked higher than you. And I've been telling our kids this week, that's really not the case. You beat good guys by wrestling hard for 6 minutes and doing the things you are good at really, really well. So hopefully we go out. Like I said, we've been working these drills that I think, there's skills that are really important, and hopefully we can put on a show tomorrow night with them. So.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's always a great duel. That'll be fun to see how that shakes out, and you guys will be battling.
Yep. Well, here's a good question. Here's Tony Fugelberg. I tell you what, here's the exact thing. There are 5 teams going for 4 spots. Right now, you got Bismarck and Century are the only possible teams to be 1 and 2. Then there's 3 teams vying right now for that 3rd and 4th place. Listen to this. Now, Jamestown's been on a roll. They have to face Legacy tomorrow night. The winner of that duel, like for an example, if Jamestown wins.
They're the three.
Then they're the 3, and St. Mary's becomes the 4. If Legacy wins, then
St.
Legacy
Mary's is the 3.
Yep,
Correct?
St. Mary's becomes the 3, and Legacy becomes the 4.
Oh,
And so Jamestown's a very crucial duel. Jamestown in or out if they win that duel tomorrow night, and Legacy in or out.
Winning you're in. You're in.
So that's a huge duel going the same time that we're at Bismarck High, and then St. Mary's just rotates between depends which team wins.
It's crazy to think that all 4 of the Bismarck schools could make it to the state tournament. That's never happened before.
No, that would be unbelievable for wrestling. I know St. Mary's, they had a crazy duel the other night and won, the pin in the last match, and they went crazy because they knew they'd at least solidify being in the top 4, which is pretty cool for them. They have never been in the duel before. So I'm going to congratulate Melmer and his boys for all the stuff they're doing there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exciting. That'll be it's good when you get this time of the season and these duels mean this much. That's your guys' duel means a ton. Difference being 1 or 2, and obviously that duel here in Jamestown will be crucial. So it's fun to see those duels really matter this time of year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of parity in that, 2 through about let's see 7 range. Anybody could beat anybody on any given night, and that's kind of fun when you go and they know it's going to be in the 30s or 40 to 28 or something like that. And you guys got to show up. There's no gimmies, that's for sure.
Yep.
Well, then seeding the individual, I think that's going to be a battle. Now, tell me how your seeding is going to happen for the regions. And I know you're going to have a teleconference, but who's all going to be involved?
Now, the latest and this is the way I understood the last email that I read. And when you're a teacher, you get 10,000 emails a day, so you paraphrase or you skim them. But the last email I read, all the coaches are going to be in. All the WDA coaches are going to be in on the teleconference. So we put in our bylaws last year that there would be 3 coaches from each region that would get decided on to do the seating, and they drive to Valley City and decided from there. And they were supposed to know all the information for all the schools, but apparently that's out the window this year with the new situation and not having a regional tournament. It makes things a little less cut and dry.
So looking at your own team now, I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but when are you and your coaches on your staff going to sit down and try to figure out where you're at?
Oh, we've been talking about that for 3 weeks already. Where do we need to be? What's that? That's in my eyes the bad part about not having a regional tournament. That hurts the most is you're already thinking about who you're wrestling and all these head-to-head, and it gets kind of silly to me. I wish they'd have had the opportunity. I wish they'd had the opportunity this year to just solve it or figure it out on the mat, And I mean, even if, I don't want to go too far in the weeds, but even if, whatever. If we could have even had 15 or 20 matches to decide some of that stuff, it would have been ideal.
Well, one thing we have to stress is we can't underestimate what's happening in the East. Now, West traditionally is much stronger, but guess what? We can't lay on our laurels and think, guess what? We're facing somebody in the East. Going to have to take every match seriously, one match at a time, and see what happens. Because my true feeling in the inside is I believe that in that round where you have 8 versus 1, so you get to that 16th place, so you're going 1 against 8, I definitely think now this is my belief, I don't want to put this on anyone else, that the West will win more than the East. But that's because of overall, so I don't want to put the people in the East down, but it's an opportunity for an upset. If you like to be the underdog and everything else, you got to look at that, I guess. Yeah,
for sure. And it's in those opening rounds this year, it's going to be really interesting to see with the 32-man bracket who can. I mean, I'm going to be talking about it the first Monday of the state wrestling tournament about bonus points that first round. That's going to be big time.
Yeah, I think that happens every year, right? That's what we're talking about. But this year, I think it's I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of matches that go 6 minutes in that. I can't speak for all Class A either, but I just, I know how that could possibly, it could be, that round could go very fast.
Well, I tell you what, Bismarck with 14 weight classes could have a chance to break the overall point record too that Century holds from back when we had 13 weight classes. That should be retired, but the old 290 points. But there's a chance with that 32-man bracket extra.
I would say Lisbon would have a chance also.
Yeah.
How close did West Fargo get when they placed all 17? And I don't know.
260.
Okay. Boy, that team when I was in high school, and that team, I would believe I was a junior in high school, and they had a returning state finalist who didn't even wrestle. West Fargo did. Drew Johnson, I remember his name.
Oh.
And that was a team right there. If that, yeah, Bismarck High's got a really good team this year, but if that team couldn't do it, holy cow! I mean, I view those two teams as really, really similar.
What's interesting too is now they placed to 8 places. Back then they would place to 6. Also,
Yeah.
So that was basically pin, lots, and having every person maximum points was crazy.
Yeah.
But
did they wrestle? They didn't wrestle the 7th and 8th place match at all.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So that wasn't for several years later that they had 7th and 8th even.
And this was before my time, because when I remember it was between my 7th and 8th grade year, 8th and 9th grade year, is when Class A started placing top 8, and Class B started it, and then Class A adopted it. Is that kind of
added it later? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Class A fought it for a long time because they had a lot of wrestlers that were sometimes extras, sometimes they weren't filling all the same weight classes in Class B, and it was kind of one of those competition things. The coaches thought going down to 7th and 8th was too not good enough.
Yeah.
Like they didn't place high enough in reality. But I think in reality, when coaches look back at it, they're going, "Guess what? It's about the kids." And so,
yeah, and if I mean, hopefully it's not, but if that's the reason, like one of your alternates sticks it out, or one of your extra guys sticks it out because they have a chance to place at the state tournament, I think it's good to have.
Oh, definitely. So, Bill, what do you know what's happening up there?
I know that
snowing.
Yeah, snow. It's gonna get really cold. I was out kind of getting over all the animals ready for a few days of some nasty weather here. So yeah, it's but I can't complain about this year's winter, that's for sure. So
how about Region 2 results?
Well, Region 2,
the Invitational,
the Region 2 invite. Yep, it's not a Region 2 championship, but it looked a lot like a Region 2 championship. It was very, very similar. They kept team scores, and they did name a couple of Region 2 senior athletes, which were Jace Horgan and Tristan Lura. So good luck to them at the state tournament and in the voting for the Class B Wrestler of the Year, Senior Wrestler of the Year. But they it was Pembroke County North had a really good tournament. Carrington did not have a bad tournament. There was some other good results. I think it's going to make for some very interesting, state matchups. I have a feeling there's still lineups that aren't set, which is, normally not the case the week after a regional tournament. But so yeah, there could be some shakeups, I guess.
Well, how about this?
And I don't know if there's any top kids that are still moving, but there's definitely kids that are moving in lineups.
Well, they consider the dual tournament now a separate tournament on the third day. So
they always did, even when it ran the same time. It always did.
Separate tournament, but you couldn't weigh into 2 different weight classes. See, now with the individual,
you only weighed in once. Yeah, right.
You only have a weigh in, then you'd match that. Now at this, it could be different on the last day, where you could weigh in. For an example, you would be ineligible to wrestle if you didn't make weight.
Right.
In the other one.
Yep.
And so it's kind of interesting. Let's say you didn't make weight, you're still eligible in the dual. You could actually have them up a different weight class.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, or they could. Yeah, if they barely miss, they could still make it the next day. I don't know if I wanted to ask the question if if you have a deep enough team and you got a guy that gets hurt and you have to have your rosters turned in by a certain date, but if it's a separate tournament on a separate day, you could have a kid get hurt in the individual tournament. Knock on wood, hopefully nobody gets hurt, but could you insert somebody else into your dual tournament team? But I don't know if I can answer to that question.
In Class A, how many kids can you have on your dual tournament roster?
So we've kind of planned it out. You can have you have your 14 plus your 3 individual, and then you can have another 14 plus 3. So we always try to make it every year so that you have another set of 3 alternates on your dual team. So your 3 individual alternates, generally, at least how we've done it the last couple of years, those kids are not on your dual roster.
Oh,
we try to get some other. That's just how we've done it. Now, that's not saying we're going to do it every time.
Sure.
try to get another set of 3 kids on the dual team that are some of your better junior varsity guys, so they can get an experience of the state tournament, or some guys that you think are going to be on your varsity team next year.
Yeah,
I was
thinking. Go ahead.
So
we'll probably have 20 kids wrestling at the state tournament.
Yep. We're a little deeper this year at a couple places where we probably could at least a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. You'd be surprised how many of those juniors and sophomores that are the extras are going to be some starters for your team, and you're going to need them.
Oh, yeah, we know that.
People don't realize Century's a little senior heavy, but not huge senior heavy. But they've only got 1 junior in the whole room.
Yeah.
And a ton of sophomores, ton of freshmen and 8th graders. So Century's going to have a team for a couple of years here. I'll tell you what, that should be pretty good. Yeah. Definitely. No, when I was looking around now, seeing some other things. Now, I'm not a real big believer in rankings, but if I look at seeds, I started to seed out Century a little bit myself, and I see in some very good places where at least they're an opposite of the number 1s in the state. And like if they're the 1, they're at least the 3, or they're the 6, or something like that, where they're on the opposite sides and have opportunities. So
yeah, the 1, 3, and 5 from the WDA, 1, 3, 5, and 7 will be on the same side. 2, 4, 6, and 8 will be on the opposite side. So that's the Rolodex that's already going through all the WDA coaches' minds right now. At least it is ours. So we're not alone.
I would think that most coaches have already kind of strategized this, but usually this is like a Friday night in a hotel room with the other coaches to kind of
now
as many of those.
Now it was the day after we were told there was not a regional tournament.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Going on for,
Hey, Bill, did you notice we're ganging up on you?
I did notice it, actually. I thought about saying something, but I did not. Here, I got one too.
There's
So, yeah, I did notice. I did. That's a pretty salty lineup there this year.
Well, let's talk a little college right away. Why don't we? What did you think about some of the stuff that was going on this last week? I won't start this one off.
Nate, did you watch Penn State wrestle Northwestern?
Little bits
And
here and there.
Indiana?
I watched the matches I was interested in. I did watch the whole Illinois. I watched the whole Illinois Iowa duel and the whole Rutgers versus Ohio State duel. Entirety.
Yeah.
I guess the big one in that Northwestern and Penn State duel was everybody thought Starocki was a world beater, and he still might be, but he lost it. That was his first college loss. So.
Yeah, it was his first college match.
Yeah,
they had another 174
lost
the first match too, but
yeah.
Pat Smith,
Mark Hall. Yeah, but I kind of was in that same vein. I watched him wrestle a handful of matches here during COVID, on these cards, and he looked just like an animal. But and of course you got thrown right to his back, and so you're down 6-0, and then it's tough. But then he ends up getting turned again, kind of a weird tilt, and but he did battle back. But yeah, my Jets have cooled a little bit on the Carter Starocki train, but I still think he's going to be really, really good. But
I haven't got to watch like Penn State's their entire duel yet. I've just watched, like I said, matches here and there. But I have to think that if they had some guys that had COVID, I don't think, just in watching, I'd like to watch Roman Bravo Young. I don't think their training has been quite right. Like I don't think their guys are like even close to where they'll be.
Right. I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think they had a couple weeks where they were not even on the mat. I think they're out of the room, out of the building. So where you can put them on a treadmill or do whatever, but I mean, I'm sure they had to be really careful not to get. I mean, because you just can't keep losing 17 days at a time, Yeah. So I think they looked really good at. Roman Bravo Young still looks good. And, they look really good at 84. But, I mean, it'll be interesting. And then you don't have, there's no
25-pounder
yet.
And no Kirkfleet.
No Kirkfleet yet. No, I think they're still trying to figure out who's going to wrestle 49. But I surely don't think we have to worry about trying to decide who's going to win the national tournament. I think
I'm a lightweight, so I'm always interested in the lightweights, but I think it's really interesting. Like Robbie Howard hasn't wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
true freshman 125. He's a 3-time cadet world team member. And you watch some of it. I like watching his high school highlight film.
Yep.
If you have a chance, go watch his semifinal from, I believe, his junior year in high school. It's one of the most insane scrambles I've ever seen in my entire life in a high school match. Just guys that are just going 100 miles an hour. It's like Tasmanian devil. So I don't have a gauge like for where he's at. Like,
right. Well, they haven't put a 25 pounder on the mat.
Yeah. Like when I watch him wrestle that semifinal in high school, like the other guy he's wrestling is a Division I wrestler, and you just don't know where. Like, I think he could be an All-American, but you haven't seen him wrestle folk style collegiate. So
right. Yeah, I hope that they he gets in the lineup here soon. Maybe their next duel. So yeah, it'll be very interesting, I guess, to see where that comes out. So I was Penn State. I thought the Gophers looked really good out at Rutgers. Wrestled Rutgers and Purdue. Yeah. So I thought they looked good there. I mean, they're not, we really, sitting here with you two guys with those goofy sweatshirts on, but I mean, there's just such a gap between everybody else in Iowa. So, now of course Marinelli's out for a while. Hopefully he shows back up and is strong, because they surely didn't have anybody to back him up that looks like they could. I mean, not that I'm worried that he's out, but it's a COVID deal. So
I thought they might try to cut. I thought some people had said that Kennedy wasn't the biggest 74 pounder. I thought they might try to make Kennedy make the weight, but if he weighed in at a full 74, the week when he filled in for Kemmer, I bet his descent plan's out of whack.
Right. Yeah, I would think that's probably true. But
I wonder if Marinelli will be back for next Friday. I don't know.
Well, if you do the math, I think he's got 17 days. So I don't think so. It'll be close. I suppose it'll be close. You don't know exactly when they test, but
should be able to.
Yeah, it'll be close. But he's probably again been off. Although he's still really good. So I mean, he's tough. He would really not be very much fun to wrestle. I mean, that would be miserable. So yeah, I saw, there was a fair amount of wrestling to watch. It was good to see Wisconsin wrestle a little bit. Good to see Kyle wrestle. We got some, you really hope that we can get to see, I mean, there's some stuff to look forward to, right? We got Michigan. We got to see them back on the mat again.
Haven't seen their full team. Amin and Micic haven't wrestled at all.
Yeah. The whole athletic department's shut down. So, but yeah, we haven't seen Amin or Micic. Then we still, and then we got at Oklahoma State. They've looked really good, but I think Dayton Fix is back in their next duel, so that will be fun to see.
Cade Brock, though.
Cade Brock. Yep, that's very sad. I really like watching Cade Brock wrestle. Another season-ending injury. You got to wonder how many of those a guy's going to go through before the towel gets thrown in.
Yeah.
It's as you know, Nate. This is a really tough sport, and it's really really hard to do for several years at the college level. I mean, it's really tough on a body.
And I think he's had two ACLs in the same knee now. So I hate to speculate, but that's probably what it was again. And there are guys though, it depends on who you are. Throw a big brace on it. I know Joe Latham. If you don't know who most people that are probably listening know who Joe Latham is, but I believe Joe Latham wrestled the last 2 or 3 years, maybe even his whole college career. Couple-time national qualifier.
Yep.
Eyelash away from being an All-American, and he did not have an ACL the last few years of his college career. So there's guys that can do it.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, there's some exciting stuff out there. The Bison have a try meet this weekend. Is that Saturday or Sunday? Sunday, I think.
Sunday.
So that was Iowa State and South Dakota State.
South Dakota State again, yeah, and Iowa State. So Division II, NSIC got Mary wrestling at Minnesota State Mankato on Thursday. I think everything is Thursday nights again this week. So Minnesota, we got Mary at Mankato. Of course, Mary had a well, you were there, I guess, Nate. Crazy duel, like I would say. I would against Minot, last week.
From a Mary alum and fan perspective, I didn't think the duel I couldn't get off to a better start, and then you roll things. Heavyweight was a good match. They wrestled Emmett Brooks instead of Dom Tudor. Dom Tudor beat Jordan Well the first time. I'd say that was probably an upset in most people's eyes. And then they put Emmett Brooks out there, and he battled him. He was in on a really deep high crotch. I mean, this is where the match was won and lost, and he didn't finish it. But then after that, things kind of fell apart at 25, 33, and 41 a little bit. And it's like, holy cow, there's still a duel here. And then there was an injury at the 149-pound match, and I think the Minot kid, he hurt his leg pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. And there was just a lot of drama. Like it seemed like that was 30, 45 minutes, that whole situation. And then the last match, there was injury time again, and there was couple challenges, and it's like, oh my goodness, I think the duel wasn't over till like 9:30. I want to say I started at 7. Like for a college duel, it was nuts.
Yeah, there was drama for sure. So but talking to Coach McCoskey tonight, he's excited about the duel with Mary. He thinks that'll be a good duel. He thinks they'll match up pretty interesting, so that'll be fun.
I was talking about I don't know if I mentioned his name earlier, but Max Bruss is Mary's 74-pounder. Yep. He wrestled 49 as a true freshman, redshirted last year. Now he's up at 74. Got it pretty big.
Yeah.
But he is wrestling his high school teammate, Trevor Tura from Mankato.
Right.
Max was a 45-pounder in high school. I want to say, I don't know what Trevor wrestled, but he wrestled 84 the last couple of years, and they're meeting at 174. He said they wrestled a little bit this summer back in Wisconsin, but that'll be really interesting.
It will be. Yep, that'll be interesting. I know that
both of them. So
yeah, it'll be fun. That'll be a good one. I St. Cloud is going at Parkside. Minot State's at Moorhead. Hopefully that comes off. Moorhead's missed the last 2 duels. Upper Iowa's going to Augustana. That'll be a battle. And Northern is going to Marshall to wrestle Southwest Minnesota State. So I think I'm gonna make that trek to Marshall 5.5 hours or so tomorrow, but to go to that duel. So it'll be fun. It's always good, Well, we get this. Everybody's a little gun shy, and you just never know when the last one will be. So gotta try to get to them when you can.
Well, I tell you what, I want to change up on one thing. I want to ask Nate if he's listened to Wrestling Changed My Life podcast.
Yep. John Smith just came out, binge watched it.
Well, you binge listened? Yeah.
Binge listened. Yeah. I watched first 4 episodes, and I fell asleep watching the 4th episode on the night it came out. And then the next morning, I've been getting up every morning and working out with Danny Tanafu in the mornings, 6 o'clock workout. And we were in the cardio room working out, and I was listening to the podcast, and I finished it up that morning, and it was fantastic. That guy does a hell of a job.
He does. Yeah, Ryan does a great job, and I was excited for it when it came, coming, and that's why we were planning on having Ryan on here tonight. We just had a scheduling snafu, and we will get him on, but it's 7 episodes, and it's must listen. I actually have listened twice, right? So
there's just a lot of stuff that they talked about that about, like John Smith and Pat Smith in Oklahoma State, that any other documentary just glosses over, and you're just kind of left trying to pick up the pieces. At least that's for me as a wrestling fan. The whole the when they were and Oklahoma State was in trouble at the NCAA, and
right?
Just John Smith losing at the Olympic Games, and it was great.
Yeah, it's certain parts when I was going through it, because I still have the last one left. I haven't quite finished it, so I've got to listen to the last one. I had no time at school today. I was going to try to get one in at school, and I was going, oh man, I got one left. But I was impressed. There was so much of the history. He's such a great storyteller.
Yes,
where he fits little pieces in that I wish I had that skill, because you can piece things together and so forth, but he just wraps it so well. After the first episode, I had to listen to the next 2 instantly, and And I about got myself in trouble trying to get this done. I was going, what the heck can I do here? But I didn't know. I knew Iowa and Oklahoma State didn't like each other, but I didn't know it was the Dan Gable tie to it. Going back.
It's the Dan Gable, it's Randy Lewis, saga. And
I didn't know a lot about that. That's kind of something that seems like it's swept under the rug. And they got both sides, Dan Gable, to even talk about it, which I don't know how many of those guys. John Smith didn't want to talk about it, but
right.
Most of those guys probably do not talk about it, and they got him to open up a little bit or give you a little bit into it, and that was cool.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Because we had Randy, of course, on here not so long ago, and if I would have known that I might have actually asked him a question.
I would not have asked him because I do expect to see him someday in person, and I would not have that discussion.
Oh, yeah.
No, I would not have that discussion.
I don't think I'd have the Oklahoma side. See, I'm an Iowa guy.
Yes. Yeah, right.
It would be interesting. Randy's memory, just listening to him that night, because I went back and rewatched the podcast. What you could ask him is well, do you remember the position? What was the
right?
Because they didn't really talk.
He would too.
What was the position that was in question? Because if I remember right now, based on that on the web podcast or whatever the series, they didn't really talk about the position that was a judgment call.
Right.
He could probably recollect that. That'd be an interesting.
Yeah, I bet he could. Yeah, yes. I bet he could.
And was it really Randy pushing it? Here's what's interesting is I've heard a second story on this, another side, that it wasn't necessarily Randy that pushed it all the way to the court. It was the club that he was with. And so you think if he's wrestling for the Iowa Wrestling Club, there's
right.
Other
he was
people,
wrestling for the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. Yeah.
Right. The Hawkeye Wrestling Club is the one that pushed it. And because he had hurt his knee, he wasn't even sure he was going to be able to wrestle it. So he wasn't going to push the issue until all of a sudden he's going, guess what? My knee is good enough.
Yeah.
And so
they had Barry Davis, and they had their big guys. I could see that because they wanted to get as many guys in that Olympic team as possible. Randy Lewis, gold medal, Barry Davis, silver medal. Who's the guy that I'm missing from New York? Big guy. He was a gold. Bannock. He was a gold medal too. And did they have another guy on the team? Did they have another guy on the team in '84? I'm not sure. But that's Iowa's best Olympic games ever. So if they have a chance to get another Olympian on the team,
right? Yeah, it could. It could have been. It was. It didn't sound like it was Gable pushing it. At least, I believe what Dan Gable says. Right? They called him, said he had to come. That's another guy I'm not going to call a liar. So I'm telling you,
Dave Schultz.
Oh, Dave Schultz on the team. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
But Dan Gable, I feel like he's living. When he was talking through that, they called me to go to Chicago. I pictured Dan Gable in the wrestling room answering the phone, and they having to okay, you can't go to practice today, and he doesn't understand why. That's what I had in my head the whole time.
Yeah. No, a great series. I recommend everybody listen to it. Said we'll have Ryan on here. I don't know if it'll be next week or when it'll be, but we will have him on. We'll get a chance to talk to him. Now, if you go back a little further in that podcast series, there is another, and Ryan will say he's a huge fan of the ESPN's 30 for 30. And that's kind of the vein that he's come in. But he's got a two-part documentary series on Gable.
Okay.
So, Gable the GOAT, and that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to that again today, and I also listened again to recently to an interview with Lincoln McElravy, which is great. Really, really good. So, I recommend it. We'll talk about it again. We'll get Ryan on and kind of get his feeling and really talk about how he goes about that storytelling. And just talk about wrestling. Now, obviously grew up in a wrestling family, and I know at least he wrestled obviously, and he had a brother that wrestled in college. So I think D3, but yep. Great.
Well, I was looking at that 84 Olympic team. There were 10 weight classes back then.
Bring it back.
Yep. They bring it back. Yeah. And we won 7 of the 10. And we had 2 silvers, so we had 9 in the finals.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow.
Only
there was 50. one country I think that didn't show up.
And then we actually got 2 golds in Greco, and that never happens.
Oh,
That was
It
Jeff
helps.
Blotnick and
Yes.
Steve
And
Frazier.
Steve Frazier.
And Steve Frazier. Yep. Yeah. It helps when Russia doesn't show up, but it does. That was obviously a very good squad. A lot of really good guys there. So,
Oh my.
yeah, it was fun listening to the Lincoln McIlravy interview, and a lot of those interviews, the one with McIlravy, the one with Barry Davis, the one with Bannock, those were all part of his research and doing the Gable one. So, but it's fun to listen to the whole McIlravy one, and he talks about going out to Foxcatcher and spending a couple weeks with Dave Schultz, living in Dave Schultz's house. And
Lincoln?
Yeah, in high school. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. He said, yeah, that was pretty cool. He's obviously someone we need to get on here, but
I've missed that one. That's one I probably could get a hold of.
I can't stop thinking about that story Makovsky told probably a couple months ago now when he was on, and they were running those camps, and they had McIlravy was coming to the camps, and they had John Smith. Well, what do you think about that kid? World-class hips. Hips. That's all I can think about Lincoln McIlravy, because his balance and his hips are.
Yep. Yeah, it is a really good one. And he's when you're talking to people or you're doing interviews, I mean, people all are at different levels and as they share, and he was really fun to listen to. And
his body kind of just like started to, like his neck was shot basically, because I think didn't he go out for the team in 2004 too?
Yeah.
Didn't he try to make that team?
Yeah.
Yeah, and concussions.
Well, if there are any South Dakota people out there listening and you have a chance to get a hold of me if you have his information, I'd love to get a hold of Lincoln. That'd be a great one.
I bet Coach Schumacher has his information. So yeah, one thing, and I think it was in the McIlravy. I don't know, and it could have just been Gable had said himself. It was one of the favorite quotes I think I've ever heard. And I know I've listened to the multiple shows before, but everybody he said that everybody thinks that they will rise to the occasion, when it comes time to compete, and he said that's not what happens. We all default to our training, and I think a lot of us, and a lot of the kids that we've worked with, right, a lot of high school kids and college kids, it kind of do the same thing. And when they said that, I thought, man, that makes perfect sense, and that was true, yeah. He was talking of, and really what McIlravy talked about a lot was, when they pulled him out of red shirt, he was a true freshman, obviously, and he was living with Troy and Terry Steiner. And they worked out 3 times a day. So he worked out 3 times a day. He thought that's what you just did. So when they pulled his red shirt, he was ready to go. But he said the next year he still worked out 3 times a day with Troy and Terry. And then after that, he said, I couldn't do it anymore. He said, those guys are freaks. He said, it's some of it's just toughness and some of it was body type or whatever. He said, but they went 3 times a day every day. It didn't make any difference. So
mental toughness, that's crazy. Because even listen to Smith in his thing and how he's talking. John's talking about how he couldn't go. There were certain times where he's going, do I really want to get in that shape again? You remember that part in that he's going, he had no money, back then in the 90s, Pat didn't, but John had some because of the shoes and all the other stuff. But
that was a great point in that film too, that he went over to that tournament, and I've heard him talk about it before, or there's been little clips where he's talked about it, but going over and not winning that tournament in Russia and riding the train all the way back to Moscow and seeing how those guys were living. It's like, yeah, they are gonna fight tooth and nail, because if they win a tournament, it means the absolute world to them. So you can't underestimate how hard those guys are gonna fight. So, I gotta live at less than $1,000 a month in this tiny little apartment, and so I can learn, be hungry like those guys. That was wow. And then getting up at 2 a.m. to run the stairs at Gallagher, that was pretty cool too. Because the Russians aren't training at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Well, think about what the amount of work that he did, and they talk about it, and it's fun to it's a few years ago, so you kind of forget about it, and you've seen so many things over the years, but the amount of time and effort and the amount of work he put into developing that little single series.
Losing track of time in the wrestling room.
Yeah, just
forgot to call his
parents.
Forgot to call his parents for months, a couple months.
Right.
Yeah. He just wanted to specialize in something so unique that it's all he wanted to do. And I've watched the low single series, I have, but it takes a special wrestler. Yeah, it's fast. You have to be fast. You have to be able to get and recover. I still think it would be a great move to incorporate into somebody's repertoire.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it is. Well, and then think if that doesn't happen, you think Pat Smith wins 4 NCAA titles? No, I mean, he just, he became and one thing I guess I didn't even realize, but he wrestled, Pat Smith wrestled Joe Williams in Joe Williams' first college match, and Tech fouled him in the first period.
Yeah, I never.
Joe Williams. I mean, you just think, how in the world, Joe Williams is the best wrestler to ever come out of the state of Illinois. I mean, probably, a lot. And Lincoln McElravy said, he had to be very careful wrestling Joe Williams because he was very, very bad for his confidence. He said, and they were, a weight class apart or so. And he said, you just did not score very much on Joe Williams. And then
they said talk about him. Sorry to interrupt you again, Bill, but they talk about Joe Williams, like a lot of those guys, Lincoln McElravy and even the coaches there, like they talk about Joe Williams being one of the best wrestlers they ever seen. He just had a hard time opening up. Like when he wanted to go, he was one of the best people. Eric Guerrero talked about that too on his Wrestling Changed My Life. Like Joe Williams was so good, but they just couldn't quite get him to, some guys would, if you can win 3-0 or 3-2, why not? But yeah, crazy.
Well, and the other one I got is I didn't realize our not our congressman, but congressman that had beat Smith also his first national championship. I didn't realize that Jim Jordan was that good. I had completely lost it.
He was national
champion, but I didn't know he beat Smith. I didn't in my head.
He invites the wrestler national champions to the White House now. NCAA guys, he did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and what was the other thing that just brought up? But it's so much fun to listen to. There's so much history there, and
you were talking about Pat Smith, the guys Pat Smith wrestled.
Yeah. What else? There was something else that we were. Oh, I know. It's just Randy Lewis talking about that. And he said that on here.
Oh, yeah, who his toughest wrestler was.
Yeah, John Smith was just, really, that one was tough to get a hold of, So yeah, that had when those be. I wonder if those matches are anywhere where I could see them. Those guys wrestling at the U.S. Open or, in the
Olympic ones are on YouTube. I've watched them.
Yeah, we'll have to look for those again. Yeah, fun to watch. It's and I know we end up with a lot of people that are. Haven't been around wrestling their whole lives, that watch these podcasts, watch these shows and listen to the podcast. And I really recommend, going and listening to some of that stuff and really you can see some history that you don't, you never think of. And great stories and it kind of gives you just a little bit. And there's some, we've got some of these are parents of young wrestlers and you get a real inkling of what the sport can do for these kids as they're growing up and how important it is to their lives. I mean, not that they're going to be the next John Smith, but the amount of things that they learn through this sport is, immeasurable.
Yep. How about, can you explain to me now? I knew Bryant a little bit, another guy you suggested and who we're probably going to have in the near future. Tell me what you know about him.
Yeah. Jason Bryant is he's the OG of wrestling podcasting. I actually would venture to say that if it was not for Jason Bryant, there probably would not be very many wrestling podcasts, if any. He hosts, I don't know, 30. I don't know, a lot of them on his site, the Matt Talk podcast network. Jason everybody sees him in Fargo every year. He used to work for Intermat, used to work for USA Wrestling. He's been the announcer at the D1 Nationals the last couple of years. He's been he's always the announcer at the NAIA National Championship. He will be again this year. I talked to him today.
Did the Olympic Games and the World Championship.
Did the Olympic Games and the World, and he's done the Olympic Games. He did the Olympic Games in 2016, and he has done probably every World Championship since then.
Wow.
He is a real strong wrestling mind. Not to mention he can pronounce every wrestling name that's ever come out. So he's kind of a freak that way too, but he's a great guy and loves the sport, wrestled in high school. But the majority of his world has been, wrestling media. He actually runs the Wrestling Media Association, which would be that would be the award that Shane Sparks won that award, and Jordan Haslett was, nominated for the Broadcaster of the Year. That's kind of Jason Bryant's deal. He is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He does work for the Media Association for the Hall of Fame. So yeah, he's really involved in the sport.
I didn't know there was a Wrestling Media Association.
Yeah. Yeah,
WMA. I don't know. Might have to get into that. I don't know.
Yeah. And then the other thing, what else? And I would just go to, anybody that looks at podcasts, and go to your podcast catcher and look for the Matt Talk Online podcast, and you get the ability to see podcasts and these are all, and I shouldn't say all, because he will list podcasts that he is not involved in, and I sent him a link to ours today. He said, I don't even think I have you guys in the directory. But so he was going to put that in there today, but there's one for
we're doing the podcast realm. We've done a lot of the stuff just on YouTube.
Yeah, but so he he does one for NC State, that he produces. He does one for Virginia Tech. I can't remember all of them now, but I know I listened to a lot of them. He actually did a really great series on University of Little Rock, Arkansas, on the kind of how that program got started. Goes back to Pat Smith again, but that's a really good series. If you can kind of search for that in your podcatcher.
The first guy that I started to listen to before I had even known Bill. But then Bill kind of turned the notch up a little bit when he started to mention all these other ones, because wrestling changed my life. Was like that was my addiction for about a good 6 months when you first told me that one.
Yeah, so it gives I talked to Jason about that today. I said, man, there's getting to be enough podcasts. I can't have a hard time keeping up with them. He said, yeah. He said it's getting that way. And actually, he was going to interview Jason Borelli today, the Stanford head coach. So. But Jason he's a professional podcaster. I mean, that's his whole, and he really likes, he likes beer too. So that's good.
Are you guys following on YouTube Stalemates?
Yes, I started during the Willie trial. So, I
was at first, but I get a kick out of the guy. Like he said, it's more of like spoofy, funny stuff. And he's like looking at Twitter beefs but he's going around to the different college programs too, and he went to Northern Colorado, and you get to know some of, like, he asks just like silly questions to the athletes that you wouldn't get out of him at like a media day, and it's really good. I mean, I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, it is good. I haven't been as regular, but I definitely have seen a lot of them. He went to Campbell. He went to Northern Colorado. Now he spent a few days at Little Rock, Arkansas. That was he's fun. Yeah, he is. Fun.
He got in. He's an Iowa State fan, so he bought that Iowa State van, like an old van, and it's got like blue carpet on the inside. And he interviewed Kevin Dresser in the Stalemates van. They're going to call the van is going to be named Van Gable.
Yeah, it's good. That is a good show too. That's another one I surely recommend to try to lighten it up a little bit and fun. He's involved. He's going to get bigger all the time. I have no doubt about that. So that's good.
No, I'm looking for stuff all the time, and I did run across that, and so I am a subscriber, but I think I've only watched one or two. I forget that I had that, and all of a sudden that's a good one to bring up.
It's a real challenge, though, like you say, to try to keep up with all these podcasts and all these YouTube channels. I mean, guy doesn't even need much besides YouTube and the Big Ten Network anymore if you're a wrestling fan.
Yep. Big Ten. I'm kind of bummed out that Flow doesn't have Big Ten matches on anymore, so I had to go back and subscribe to the Big Ten Plus again. So
that hasn't been talked about. There must have been something happened there.
Right.
I guess I don't understand what happened, but
Yeah, I don't know either. I hope it comes back because that was
nice.
well, it saved me $10 a month, so that was good. But I spent $10 a month, way worse than that, though. I promise you.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, so I tell you what, is there? I'm trying to think of some other. I had something else on my list, but all of it had to do. My whole prep today was for our guest for tonight,
Ryan. Yeah. I will say this: we had of course we had Terry Steiner on. We talk about women's wrestling next weekend, 13th and 14th. They're having the Captain's Cup. So that's an all women's event. It kind of goes back to similar to the RTC Cup. So you have I don't remember, it might be 6 teams that you had. They picked 6 captains, women captains, and they drafted their team, and they will have a bunch of duels. That'll be on the 13th and 14th of February on Flow Wrestling. So that'll be kind of fun to watch. A lot of those really top-notch women from around the country battling. And then I don't know, Nate, if you caught on to this, but they're having another, I think they're calling it the America's Cup, but it's going to be a bunch of senior level athletes wrestling duels again.
Oh, really?
I think, and it's like, it's coming up fairly quick, and it might even be during the week.
America's Cup. Is that what they want to call it?
I didn't get a chance either to watch University of Pennsylvania or Penn RTC had their wrestling. I didn't get a chance to watch any.
It was Mark Hall got beaten, and so did Vincenzo Joseph.
Yeah.
On February 10th and 11th is at America's Cup. It says
10th, 11th. Yeah, I was thinking it might. Yeah, it's like next.
Is that on Flow?
It will be on Flow. Yep. It's being sponsored, I think, both by USA. I think mostly USA Wrestling, but maybe Titan Mercury also. But I haven't really been able to look at a ton of who's going to be there. But it sounds like a lot of the top athletes will be there. People getting down to weight, and so that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
$60,000.
Yeah, they're paying out to the athletes. So, I did read how the breakdown was, but it doesn't matter. They're getting paid to go and scrap, and you could about imagine the guys that'll be there, right? The same guys that have been, sticking their head in the ring, for the last 6 months. So, Nate Jackson looked really good against Mark Hall. Mark Hall had a chance to win that match and gave up a takedown at the end, which is one of those things that doesn't usually happen. But he is definitely he's undersized, I guess, at 86 kilograms, but it was not even 80. It was a little bit bigger than that. So if that's actually at straight flat, 86, that might have been a little bit different match, but I don't know. That's Mark Hall's first match since Big Tens. Nate Jackson's wrestled more than any human on the planet. And that is an actual fact. It's been researched. So the last 12 months, he's wrestled a lot. So, and he didn't care who he wrestles. He'll wrestle him at 220 pounds or 185 pounds. He wrestled everywhere. So, and he's been fun to watch do it. But, and David McFadden beat Vincenzo Joseph. Chandler Rogers came out and wrestled a great match. Looked really, really good. He was actually.
Was that Greco or freestyle?
It was freestyle.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. But there was a big throw at the end it looked like Greco, but I think that got him an extra couple $100 from Stalemate. So they had a little Twitter bet for him. If he got a big throw, they were going to pay him $200. He was wearing a Stalemate singlet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. Then, it's kind of interesting to see those guys. A lot of like Chandler Rogers. He jumped on a plane and headed right back because he's an assistant coach at Little Rock, Arkansas, and they had a duel the next day. So they were hustling back. And Brandon Ashworth wrestled from Wyoming, and he jumped on a plane, got back to watch the guys wrestle. Wyoming. Pardon me?
Who did he wrestle?
Who did he wrestle? He wrestled.
Was it a Penn guy or a Penn RTC guy?
Yeah,
he wrestled Dan Valmont.
He did wrestle Dan Valmont, yes, and Dan Valmont is Ashworth looked really good. Valmont's obviously a pretty seasoned vet, and Ashworth looked really good. Looked good on his, just lived on his legs and finished takedowns nice. He looked really good. I was pretty. he was, always, pretty good. But, when you see a guy that's kind of, you don't think of when you're thinking about who's going to make the Olympic team. It's not one that pops up. And he's going to be at 86 kilograms. He's not making the Olympic team, but he looked really good. He's going to I don't even know if he'll be in the, he's, a lot of these guys will have to go to the last chance qualifier, including Mark Hall, including.
Yeah, USA Wrestling hasn't really clarified who.
I think
I'd like to see another list of who's qualified and kind of who's not, and then how they're going to seed that tournament, which is it's a little over 2 months away. Are they taking into account just like U.S. Open and U.S. Nationals results, or are they going to take into account all these 57 kilos plus 3 events? And I would not want to be USA Wrestling. I mean, it's got to be a challenge to seed those tournaments in a normal situation, but now there's going to be a lot of beefs there.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I feel that if Seth Gross and Thomas Gilman wrestle at 57 plus 3 or whatever, that's still a match. And if you go to these tournaments they're all plus 2, plus 3. I mean, it shouldn't make any difference. It's freestyle wrestling, and I think that I don't care if it happens on a roof in Chicago or in a ballroom in Austin.
The only thing is some of the officiating in some of these has been somewhat spotty. You've watched them, some of them. I guess I haven't watched. You probably watched more of the matches. I just follow the results, but I guess some of the officiating has been spotty.
Yeah. Well, that happens at the NCAA level too.
Yeah.
It's an absolute crapshoot. So I think it happens it might happen in high school too. But yeah, it is. It's iffy. So
sometimes.
What else? I guess the other thing we kind of talked a little bit about last week, but the Flow has their new Flow film out, the toughest NCAA bracket of all times. That's
Did you watch the second episode today?
It launched it today. I have not seen it yet though.
I watched the second episode on my lunch hour.
Oh, you did watch. Oh, you did watch. Okay, yeah, I have not seen it yet. So you're way ahead of me again.
It's hard. It's hard to beat Bill on something. That's pretty good, Nate.
Yeah. Well, today, I did watch last week the first episode, and I watched it before we came on the show. But this week, I was kind of busy. Yeah, it was winterizing, trying to get everything cleared up so I can hit the road tomorrow and go try to watch a wrestling match in person. But Doug, I do way more than wrestling during the week. See, he knows the facts. But it's hard to tell that, I think, at times. It's called multitasking.
I don't sleep, so I'm starting to get bags under my eyes from
Yeah. No, the sport is. I just love the sport. It's in my blood. I love to hear as much about it as I can. If I'm out, if I'm on the exercise bike or I'm riding bike in the summer or I'm out doing chores, I got earbuds in and I'm listening. Or if I'm driving around, I'm listening to stuff. So
Well, I want to give Bill some congratulations. I'm stepping him up to the next ranking. He's going from general podcaster to announcer. He gets to do some commentary at the state wrestling tournament. I got him in with Jordan Hasler to help out with the B. So that's going to be new for him, and I think it'll be great. I want to congratulate you, Bill, because I asked and he came back and he was excited. So
yeah, I'm excited. It'll be fun. I hopefully I don't make a fool of myself, but I've seen a lot worse. Maybe I'll be the worst. I've seen enough bad stuff out there that drives me crazy, but yeah, that's one of those things, Nate, I know you see it, watching Big Ten Plus and seeing some of these announcers we have come on and you don't know what happened. But
Kyle Berwick, Edinger, North Dakota. So far. And then that's about all they can keep saying.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be fun, John. I appreciate you throwing my hat in the ring there, and I look forward to doing that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it sounds like we'll be doing the Class B individual finals and the duels finals. So
yep.
There's a couple
Right.
things that could drive me away from the job that I'm doing right now. One of those would be winning the lottery. Another would be getting asked to be a commentator by Big Ten or Flow Wrestling or something like that. I mean, that would be the life.
Yeah.
I've seen Nate do a really good job doing commentating at some merry matches.
Yeah, I blew my knee out and I had to redshirt. And I did all the matches that one year. It was a lot of fun with Colin Englehart and Trevor Johnson.
Yeah, I remember that. That was, you did a good job. You know, I will say this, it's talking about doing a good job. A couple of Dakota's wrestlers, for a long time, obviously, Rich Vogelai did all of the TV commentating down for Northern on the matches. But last year, Paxton Muse from Jamestown and Josh Moore from Aberdeen, both former Northern wrestlers, started doing the broadcast down there. And man, they did a nice job. They really did a good, they obviously very knowledgeable, knew all the kids pretty good, so that helped. But they did a really good job. I was happy they did it, and I think Rich was happy to have a little break doing it too. But yeah,
I tell you what, I got Paxton in last year with me in the Class A, and Paxton helped me do some on the Class A side, and we had a new guy, the other guy that usually broadcasts with Beck. He's a hockey and basketball guy, so he needed just a little bit of help, I'm thinking, and having a second guy, I said, guess what, let's get two in, and you just do the TV stuff.
Is Paxton going to do it again in the A side with you again this year, John? Or
interesting. High School Activities Association is kind of limiting what we can do for total number of, how can you say, media people. So I haven't got the complete word yet. I've already got the okay, he can do it, but I haven't got okay from High School Activities Association. So having him do it, I still am waiting. So if his dad is, I've talked to him, and if he's listening, which he does, he gets on later, I promise I'll get a hold of you here very shortly. And I know you'll come and watch your brother anyway wrestle.
Yeah, it's really interesting if his brother makes a state finals, commentating his brother's state finals match.
You'd have to get tagged out, because I tell you what, he was pretty excited. Just like when Jax wrestles, I need to tag out so someone else can broadcast during those. I can't figure out how to settle myself down and just mention what's going on. I have to. I'll figure that out.
Ursula sitting next to you. I think that'd be hilarious. You guys should do it together one of these times.
Well, I had Ursula help me just a little bit with the JV matches the other day, last time, and we laugh at one of our parents, Jeff Ursland, means well and everything, but he comes up with stuff and he yells out, "Do it!" So they make T-shirts out of it and all the other stuff. So it's pretty good. Yeah, definitely. Got to like the characters out there for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'm just waiting a couple more minutes. We have a couple more. If the South Dakota coaches still hop on, they have their, like I said, South Dakota High School Coaches Association meeting, Zoom meeting tonight, started at 8:30. And so they started even a little later, but he was thinking that maybe a little bit after 9, somebody might hop on. But if not, we'll have him on later this week. I just want to hear what they're doing for South Dakota and what's changing with them. Have you guys heard anything else out? I was actually talking to a guy in Minnesota, and they're still figuring things out. But
I bet. There's one thing I've thought of, and I'm sure I'm not the first one, but we got all these junior high kids and JV kids, but see, do you think there's a chance that we will see? And I know a lot of the USA wrestling tournaments obviously are an age group, right? So they go cadets and juniors, and everybody gets a shot. But do you think that some of these other youth tournaments that are around, think we have a chance of seeing some of them put a 7th and 8th grade divisions, in some of those tournaments? I can use, Carrington as an example, and I have not talked to anybody.
And then they wrestle freestyle, too, those cadets.
Right. Right. But it'd be nice for a lot of these kids that, a lot of these, Napoleon always had his tournament, and Harvey has a tournament, and Carrington, and I don't know if they're all having tournaments this year. I know that Carrington is having a dual tournament and an individual tournament. But if we could get these, maybe that would be a place we could get some of the kids, even if they're folk style. Maybe it would be best if they're folk style matches. They haven't wrestled 5 matches all year, And
the thing we see is most people wait till after the wrestling season, because there are some 7th and 8th graders that get some time varsity wise, and maybe it's a shame because there aren't a lot of them. They should probably be getting some matches, but they kind of wait. And just to mention that, I don't know if anybody else caught that, but Monday we did the first Monday Mat Pack matchup, and that was a huge success. Mandan came over and had not quite a full team, but had some extras. Had 2 teams put together, but Mat Pack kind of filled in the other spots, and they dueled each other. And if you guys don't know, Mat Pack was willing to challenge anybody that wanted to come, and so they scheduled 4 Monday night matchups that would go live on YouTube. We had 500 people watch it that night. Plus, we've had several since. Plus, we have several. It was live on Buffalo Wild Wings, and at a couple other places in town, the sports page, and I'm trying to think. But they said it was on half the televisions, and the people were cheering. It was great. They said it was.
I saw that. I forgot to talk about that. I'm excited about those. That's pretty.
And
cool.
so we will have. I think they're booked up for the 4 that they had scheduled. I think they have Minot coming in next on the 15th, and then on the 1st, I think they have Dickinson, and then maybe Jamestown. They might bring a couple teams in one of those, or Jamestown might come during the Carrington. Carrington is scheduled to come for the 15th of March. So those are the 4. They're Monday night matchups, and just get duels and get those kids some matches. And so I thought it was great. The parents can't be there. It's kind of sad in that sense, but yet they'll watch it live on YouTube and at different locations, and kids had fun. And
that's great. I see, and there's a lot of tournaments around South Dakota. Tech Team has a tournament this weekend that's filled up in 30 minutes. So there's a lot of hunger, obviously, for kids getting matches. And it's that season is going to kick off, and I hope we have a pretty good run of it. I think I'm still not a believer the kids got to get 40 matches a year when they're, in 3rd or 4th grade, but they all want to go out and compete. They all want to that traveling, you say you take a kid and you take them to Bismarck and spend the day and go, get 3-4 matches and, go get a dilly bar and have a big, what's that?
Go ahead. I still think like when I started wrestling, this is a long time ago, but it used to be like you made a
you started wrestling a long time ago.
Yeah. Close to 15 years ago. But anyways, when we used to do that, there was the dual tournament was always the night before. So everybody would stay over in Minot and Dickinson. And it was like and there's probably 4 dual tournaments and there's the state dual tournament, but that's how you became friends. And that's how your parents got to be so close. And now it's not really quite the same because they're not overnight trips anymore. It'd be cool at least like bring back like even if it was just 2 of those, those were the times when I look at youth club wrestling. Those were the most fun times because it was a whole weekend out of it.
Yep. Carrington, North Dakota coming up in a few weeks. You got dual tournament on Saturday, individual on Sunday.
There you go.
That's what we look forward to.
Definitely. Well, I tell you what, I'll actually just if you guys don't mind, I'll wrap it up tonight and just say, hey guys, we're at this hour place and we'll come on again. I tell you what, we'll be next Wednesday. We have a great person coming on. He runs the Wrestling Change My Life podcast. He's planning on Wednesday. So then we'll probably have several other people. I have Dan Gable on the hook sometime in the near future.
Really? You didn't tell me this, John. I've seen you like 3 times.
I know. So that is still on the line because he's still in Florida, but that's one that's just now we got to just find the right time to do it. And so it's kind of weird because the way it almost looked like it would be state tournament Wednesday, but usually that state tournament Wednesday, I'll be probably heading to Fargo. I could stop in the middle of the way, Jamestown, and start interviewing them from there. But
my breaking news, but we're not leaving Wednesday night anymore this year. I guess they're having us go Thursday morning.
Yeah, that won't work for Class B.
Yeah, because they start super early.
Yeah. But the Class A teams
really.
They're
but the coaches will be going because they got to go to the meeting.
Nope.
What there isn't a coaches meeting?
There is, but we don't need to go to the coaches meeting.
Yeah. Well.
Oh my, that's horrible.
Yeah. Breaking news.
That's a vote for that. That's a vote for Hall of Fame.
I guess you ride a bus all day long to go to Williston, and you wrestle on that day, and this, that, and the other too. Less hotel expenses, but yeah, it'll be.
This is the accumulation of the year, and they don't pay for the hotel rooms 99% of the time anyway. The club does. You know, if you want anything extra, you know, that's why does Bismarck High stay at a better hotel? It's because their wrestling club pays for the extra and everything else.
Yeah, we don't get. They actually choose the hotel for us, but then our booster fee pays for the hotel rooms.
Right. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a different year. You know, I was talking to Lamar about this today. We were going back and forth. We found out about that, and it's like I'm a routine person, so every year you can count on this is going to happen in this order at the state tournament. And like the more you go to a tournament, whether it's when you're in college, the regional tournament or the national tournament, this is how it's run. So you know what to expect every time you go to the tournament. And this year, it's going to be adjustment for me as a coach. So the kids it'll be an adjustment for some kids. Some kids will take it in stride, but it's definitely going to be different.
So that makes no sense because there's some about being there early at the state wrestling tournament and warming up.
Class A weighs in at 1:30. We're not allowed in the Fargo Dome until 12:30. So get up in the morning on Thursday morning and get a workout in, go shower quick, get on the bus, and go to Fargo. So
that's kind of sad. I wouldn't be happy as a parent, as somebody that, guess what? This is the accumulation of the year, and you're supposed to be. Oh, I know some people believe in the sleeping in your own bed. I don't. My wrestlers, like when it was in Bismarck, it's not the same. Like the Rotary tournament versus going to Fargo to the Rumble of the Red. Your team, you don't have the team camaraderie. You don't have all the things that you should have.
We did that my senior year too, just like my senior year in high school, and I think it helped a lot just to get like the state tournament was usually it was Fargo Bismarck. That's when they were still having it in Bismarck, and you get family that comes to watch when it's in Bismarck, and they're staying overnight at your house, and then people are up, visiting, and it's like you need to get to bed. Well, my parents and some other parents, Century parents, brought it up that year and asked our coaches. This is Lamar and Rao and the different coaches at Century. Can we, like the kids that want it, can we rent a hotel room? So they just get shuttled back, or a couple hotel rooms, just get shuttled back so you guys can, check them into the hotel and they just relax like they're with their buddies. And that's what we did. I don't remember who I roomed with, but there was probably half the kids chose to stay at home. And I was one of the kids that chose to stay at the hotel. And that was great because after the tournament was over, it just went back and you totally unplugged.
Right.
I agree. It's different, I kind of want, checking into a hotel, just getting settled, all that stuff, but it'll be what it'll be. So
I guess you're not the boss.
Nope.
That's it.
Oh, right. Hey, I should mention a couple of things. We were talking about Region 2, just to button up, but we did see some great matchups there. 1 versus 2 type matchups, at least in the rankings. I don't know, who they still going to wrestle them at the state tournament, I think. But at 126 pounds, we had a 1 versus 2, and Henkel got another win over Dukeshire, but that's a 1 versus 2. Those two should see each other later in the year. 145, we had Jace Horgan and Brecken Lura had not wrestled yet this year. They were both undefeated, and Brecken came out on top of that one. And then at 220, Doug Retzloff made me think of it when I saw his name down there. Bo Retzloff wrestled Pembina County kid that was, I think, they were 1 and 2 and they hadn't seen each other in the duels, Bjornstead. And Bo, came out on top of that one with a pin at the end. It was a tough match. It was a good match, really, really good match. So at 220 pounds. So we got to see some really good action there with some, even within the region, this kind of a weird year where you had kids that were, ranked highly that haven't seen each other all year. So that was fun to see at that tournament. It was like I said before, I kind of was joking. It looked like any other regional tournament, but it was different in the sense that we saw, some guys that were ranked 1 and 2 in the state in the same region hadn't seen each other all year. So that was kind of fun to see. So they had Pembina County North got 1 and Carrington got a couple. And then this weekend we're going to have a couple duels. Carrington is going to duel Valley City on Saturday and West Fargo in both. West Fargo and Valley City. So,
yeah, one more thing. I guess I thought about the results too. And New Salem had a little dual tournament.
That was their regional duel. So we had those two.
Kind of, but St. Mary's was there.
And Velva was there too.
Yep,
Really?
and Velva. Yep. And so St. Mary's lost to Velva in a duel.
Oh, okay, right.
But then New Salem just walloped Velva in the duel. And so kudos to New Salem. They'll be in the mix. I tell you what,
Yes.
they'll be strong enough all the way around that they could do some damage.
So Bill, this is
That's at Holstein multiple, but on Friday night they actually had their regional duel. So
Okay.
yeah, right. I forgot about that. They did do both. So
So-
go ahead.
So South Border beats Lisbon in a duel. How does South Border do in an individual tournament? Do they have enough forces to keep it close?
In a big tournament like the state tournament, they surely could. I think that the
I haven't seen South. I don't know what South Border is.
they're very good. They're very solid. So,
Okay.
Lisbon did beat them in the regional tournament.
Okay.
The Napoleon
Regional.
Last Chance.
Yeah.
Which happened to be very similar to the regional tournament. Although they did have Delax Burlington, I think, was there.
Okay.
Lisbon came out on top, and Lisbon's really solid. But there is enough kids out there, that'll sprinkle in from Carrington, New Salem, South Border, that's going to spread those points out a little bit. You were talking about the scoring record. The 2016 Carrington team got the scoring record in Class B. Napoleon had it forever, and then Carrington broke the record in 15 and broke it again in 16. And I started thinking about that the other day with this 32 man brackets and lots of pins in the first round. And holy man, that one could be in danger also. But I do think that there's enough separation, that there's enough good kids from a lot of schools that I think Lisbon is the favorite.
I don't think Class B record to be touched.
Yeah. So
40 points.
Yeah. So, but Lisbon, I think is still the favorite. But I do think that they're, when you get bigger tournament, that's when things kind of spread out a little bit. So
I just didn't know what South
Border is very good. They're going to be, they're going to have a number of finalists. They're going to be tough.
Cool.
Yep. Be fun.
Yeah, I could see, a couple other teams we haven't got to talk about. Velva. I was going to try to get our Barstool. He's the Barstool guy on there and get him to talk a little about Velva. That's another team we haven't talked about much, and they got some salty kids. I know Williams County has got a couple salty kids up there. Delax Burlington has a couple, but it's really spread out. Pembina County could surprise some people too. I think they were outside the radar kind of at the beginning of the year. They knew they'd be good, but they'll be in the mix for, you try to think of those top 6 teams or so that in the state. It's going to be a battle, and Lisbon has to put it together. Nobody can take stuff for granted to win it. I think they're the favorite, but
right.
Yep.
So. Yeah, though we got to go and wrestle them. So,
and we don't get to watch it. That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts too. Like when I was an athlete, Dean Shear was kicking me out of the bat. I was peeking around. Dean Shear, get out of
Yeah.
You got to go back to the team here. That was my favorite part of the state tournament. You get to watch. Oh, this is the Class B kid that they've been, been talking about, and don't get to see that this year, even on the coaching side. Those screams that you hear on the Class B.
Yeah.
Side, when there's a big upset, we'll be back at the hotel.
Well, it could be quiet in the Class A, because Class B brings the fans. I don't know. It's my prediction. We're going to have a couple fans there compared to Class B.
I'm curious to see what the actual what the setup looks like too with 12 mats, and the team camps are going to be up in the bleachers on. It's going to be. I don't know if it's going to look more like the Rumble on the Red or what it's going to look like. Or I guess I don't know.
I agree, Tony. You're so right on the separation. Because guess what? I don't know how they couldn't run it on 2 different sides at the same time. You could have the Class B. The Fargo Dome's big enough. Look at what they do for the Junior Nationals. You could have the Class B on the far side and have the Class A on the other. And I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah. I guess you could buy 2 sets of tickets, but that's an expensive weekend too from price of tickets.
Yeah. Yep. That's a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, well, we went another 19 minutes. I know we can talk.
Just getting warmed up.
Yep, we could definitely. And
one thing I want to talk about too before I forget. Sorry, but this is the rest.
No problem.
I'm scouring YouTube and the podcast all the time, but I was always there's not a lot of Troy and Terry Steiner stuff besides like their coaching technique. It's just at that time where there's not a lot of film of their college matches, and there's stuff like when they're training for the Olympics post collegiate that are on there. Like their NCAA finals are out there, but I had never seen the Troy Steiner versus Kerry Kolat Big Ten finals match from Troy's senior year. I found that one out there, and there was another match that Terry wrestled. There's some of Terry's matches against Kevin Jackson's younger brother. I can't think of his name right now. Torre. Yeah, some of those are starting to make their way out there. So if you're a North Dakota wrestling fan interested in watching some more Steiner stuff, I just found it like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and I'd never seen it before. And I scoured the web for a long time trying to find some of that stuff, and I just found it. So kind of cool. And I think that's cool.
I think it'd be another thing that'd be good for coaches to do is try to influence your wrestlers on watching some. Go watch some other wrestlers. I pick up so much stuff when I'm watching other people wrestle, and I think they could benefit from it.
You can learn a lot by watching. You can also learn a lot by if you have showing technique too. I think you can learn a lot by having your young kids show technique.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And that's that film watching. You talked about that before, Bill. That your son, and you would watch it. And
we watched a lot, just watching wrestling. Just you see a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden, maybe something pops out that you think you should go try or work on, and that's I don't Jeff Schumacher told us, if you're not watching an hour a day, you're not serious about the sport.
Yeah,
you can get down a rabbit hole pretty easily too, and then you can start to find your favorite wrestlers.
Yeah. Well, Kerry Kolat's one of them. Man, that's been a lot of fun to watch a lot of his matches.
I watched that match, and Troy Steiner had to dig very deep to win that match against Kerry Kolat at the Big Ten. It went to overtime. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And then Aaron Larson last week, what did he say? He enjoyed the boys going to the national tournament with him.
Yep, watching wrestling. Yep.
And it's kind of their family boy bonding time or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
Okay,
sounds
guys.
Great.
Well, we're gonna call it a night, but I tell you what, we'll be on again in a short amount of time. Just keep going out promoting the sport, guys. Keep going over. If you guys are new, go over to YouTube, catch some other people watching. You can actually subscribe to Dakota Grappler. You can hit the bell. You can get notifications. Besides this being on Facebook, Facebook gets a good little crowd, but I'd like a little more over on YouTube. There's a lot of people we've interviewed, guys. Go back and watch some of those. There's some great gems out of some of the guys we're having on. Thanks again, Nate. I do appreciate it. And we'll visit some more wrestling. You know it. And Bill, we'll visit here.
I can't say no whenever you ask me to do this.
Well, here's the crazy thing, Nate. I was going kind of through my list, and I emailed quite a few South Dakota coaches, and I found about their meeting. And right away I said, guess what? I need to just get some flavor on there. Nate knows his college, some stuff going on, and I love it.
Are you guys planning on doing a show like in the summer, like every 2 or 3 weeks? Like there's going to be enough stuff going on this summer. You could probably make a show, keep it going.
It's really hard to get John off the golf course, but we should. But last year COVID hit, and I think we all went into a coma.
Yeah, and, with the Olympics and all that stuff.
This year's huge. There's no reason we can't, and I think.
Hopefully everything goes great. We have an Olympic. We have an Olympics. We have Fargo happen again, and those are all things that I want to watch.
You talk about the cadet and junior world teams, all that stuff is fascinating because those are the next wave of guys that are going to be good.
For some of that, Nate, that'd be great too. I'd appreciate it.
I'd like that. So
okay,
yeah, we will.
We will do that, guys. Good, and thank you again. You guys have a great night. Dakota Grappler. Catch you in the near future.